You can't, in my opinion, make a movie like this where you have a female Terminator coming back in time and Arnold coming back in time and not have them do battle. So we have a sequence in the movie where they really go at it big time.
It was for us a very, very important sequence, not only because it was going to be logistically difficult, but because from a story point of view, it's almost the end of the movie. And it's also the last time that we're going to see Terminator. You're basically losing your hero.
Very important moment. Pay attention.
One of the most challenging things that we're going to have in that sequence is how we're going to realize, Terminators half human and half a machine.
The main challenge of realizing the half Arnold, half Terminator was matching Arnold's performance and then using that to drive the animation of the Terminator model we had in the computer. Terminator 3 was a great opportunity to take that a couple of steps forward and you come up with some techniques to help realize the whole performance from his head to his toes and make that a living, believable character on the screen.
What we're looking for as an end result with Arnold and the destruction that he has is far more advanced than it was in Terminator 2. So we have to get into the visual effects area. As you can see with this, the amount of damage to the face here is something that we can't create with makeup because we've removed a lot of the skin.
We devised a makeup technology that allowed us to create prosthetic makeups that gave us the edge that we needed, covered the rest of the head with green material to allow the rest of it to be put in CG.
Everything on this side of his head will be painted green, and it'll all be mechanical. There'll be moving parts in there. It'll be things that we can't do with makeup.
Three-dimensional.
Very three-dimensional, very deep. When we did Terminator 2, one eye was completely covered up on Arnold, and he was blind in that eye for hours a day, so he had no depth perception. With this makeup, it's very non-restrictive.
Every single object that you see will actually move, and you will see what the inside of a Terminator's jaw looks like, the throat, the eyes, how it functions, and how it focuses and all those kinds of. That's the idea, is to be able to make it three-dimensional and look inside the back of the skull.
We always had markers on Arnold's face because we needed to capture the image on film and then bring it to ILM, scan it into the computer, and then track it in 3D space.
We started by scanning Arnold Schwarzenegger's body, so we had a reference of his body proportions inside the computer. We then built a Terminator endoskeleton model that fit inside his body. We set up animation constraints so that as we moved Arnold's body, the endoskeleton underneath moved similarly. We also took reference of Arnold in poses so that we knew that our computer graphics representation of his body would go through the same kind of motions that his real body could do. Once we have Arnold's performance match, we can see how our endoskeleton, the mechanical portion of the Terminator, reacts. And we can verify that the joints and the pistons are moving as you would expect a mechanical structure to move.
I'm back.
The other challenge that we had in that sequence had to do with the TX. Working with Stan Winston was really, really good in that sequence. That's another example of technologies with animatronics and CG working together.
There's a crudeness to the actual mechanical design of the T-800, the Arnold Terminator, whereas the mechanical design of the TX is much more refined.
Because she's going to be crawling most of the time, trying to figure out the head angle.
The animatronic TX had certain electronic advances in what we have done with her lighting, but from a live action standpoint, the TX, because it was so small, did not allow for major designs of advanced animatronics.
Great, and I look right into her eyes, Arnold. As you're struggling?
The sheer advancement of the TX was really the design of the character, and that it would be very, very easy to seamlessly replicate and blend whatever we did in very close-up action with the puppet with the CG version.
One of the ideas that came across was maybe what we want to see is the endoskeleton of the Terminatrix come to life with past lives. And so one of them would be Kristona's face. So we came back to the stage and we shot Kristona's face, and we're going to use her face as textures and her expressions, and we're going to map that into the endoskeleton of the TX.
What we do is we take set measurements, we build three-dimensional objects that represent what was originally on photography. Then we'll recreate the camera move using track points from within the environment.
We have 16 motion capture cameras, and they're arrayed in sort of a dome, a semi-dome around the performer. And they're very carefully calibrated in a 3D space so that we can use them to triangulate the positions of the markers as they move on her body.
Tracking people is a lot different than tracking an environment. For Kristana, she does a lot of scowling and whatnot. So we had to pick places on her face that didn't move a whole lot with expression, especially the temples or the chin or the side of your nose.
These little dots here represent markers that we put on her various joints, and we can use those to drive the digital version of the TX.
And we place that inside of our already made match move so that our model moves around exactly like it was originally shot.
Okay, less open mouth. And a little more side-to-side movement.
It's difficult to be aware of where you are in the story, and then also keep in mind the restraints of the area that you're in and the lack of limbs that you have, and mesh it all together. Like how it is for these cameras to record your movements, it's trying to compile it all together and come up with something that you think will work.
The first thing we did was we lay in the animation model, the digital model, matching her action, including her jaw movement here. This is what we call the scary face right here. Scary face, we went in and we matched what Kristana had done as far as her performance, as far as her growls, as far as how she was furrowing her brow. You're going to see we really exaggerated that, but basically she's still driving this performance. And then on top of that, the fluid dynamics team would go in and they would generate the the liquid metal. That's all combined with the animation model in the final version of the shot. And notice we used some coloring around the eyes and stuff, the same blue coloring we took through to make the eyes real prominent there.
You are terminated.